Hello and welcome back to Football Scrutiny. Today we're going to be taking a look at the game between Tottenham Hotspurs and Manchester City. Spurs and the great escape to victory. Bergwijn scores on his debut. Let's take a look at it in more detail. Starting by looking at Tottenham's team. Tottenham surprised everyone with this 4-3-3 organisation. Lloris was back in goal after his arm injury that's kept him out since October. Alderweireld and Davinson Sanchez, the centre-back pairing with Aurier as a right-back, and the upcoming left-back Tanganga that did so well against Liverpool in January. In midfield, Spurs started with Lo Celso Winks in the middle, together with Son, and new signing Bergwijn from PSV Eindhoven started on the left in a front three, where Ali took the striker position and Lucas Moura on the right wing. In the attacking phase, Tottenham didn't actually have that much control of the ball in Manchester City's defensive half, but when they did, they tried to pack their wingers Son and Bergwijn into the inner corridors and Moura and Ali in the central corridor. Fullbacks Aurier and Tanganga responsible out wide, especially Aurier to go forward. The young left-back Tanganga had a more of a defensive duty all evening, not letting Mahrez out of his sight for a minute. Mourinho had a great respect for the Algerian wizard, and without Mendy in the team, it was obvious that Mourinho thought that Mahrez could be one to hit Spurs hard if he gets time and space on the ball. With this organisation, one alternative for Tottenham wingers is to attack the spaces behind the opposition fullbacks in the outer corridors so that the ball can then be played down there for penetration into the final third. Taking a look now at Manchester City and how they lined up. As we can see there, the standard 4-3-3 from Manchester City. Fernandinho partnering Otamendi in the centre-back partnership. Gundogan, Rodri and De Bruyne in the midfield. Sterling, Kun Agüero and Mahrez up front. With Walker, fullback and Zinchenko on the left back. Ederson, of course, favoured in goal. In the attacking phase, as we've come to expect from Manchester City, occupying all five of the corridors on the pitch. Zinchenko offering width and height in the attack on the left-hand side of the pitch. And on that left-hand side is where they tried to penetrate into the final third using combinations via Gundogan or Sterling between the lines in front of the Tottenham's back line or via crosses into the 18-yard box. On the other side, Mahrez kept the width, the idea to quickly switch the play to give to Mahrez, and that space needed that he could challenge his opponent with his speed in one-against-one situations. This game, Guardiola chose to have one pivot, Rodri, with the two attacking midfielders, Gundogan and De Bruyne, high up the pitch in the inner corridors. Of course, during the build-up phase, Walker usually manning the inner corridor in that almost false fullback position. This, of course, used to give defensive support to Rodri, but also to help with circulating the ball, especially in the attacking half. Taking a look then at the defensive approach from Tottenham Hotspurs. Mourinho didn't expect his team to be in full control of the game, as you can expect whilst playing against Manchester City. Regarding possession, so his intuition was rather to have a defensive approach, as you would expect from Mourinho, and go for counter-attacks and quick transitions. In the early stages of the game, it was clear that he'd set a trap on Tottenham's right-hand side of the pitch, leaving his front three slightly onto the left. That would then leave Fernandinho with quite some space to exploit when he got the ball. The Spurs midfielders were instead slided a bit towards the opposite side, ready to spring a counter-attack when the ball was coming up their right-hand side. When the ball was passed out into City's left-back Zinchenko, the home team was supposed to reach a numerical superiority on the wing with a 3-against-2 situation and stop the attack there. City would then be forced to play backwards and try and switch the sides of the pitch, and this is where the slide from the front three came into picture. They were assigned to deploy a bit more to the left-hand side to meet this problem. City usually can keep some speed on the ball and they like to play along the grass, but those possibilities were limited now, and therefore came to a couple of crosses instead from Fernandinho out to reach their right winger, Mahrez. So here we can see that defensive setup from Tottenham. Midfielders slid over onto the right side, the forwards slid over onto the left, forcing the play onto the Tottenham right-hand side. When the ball came into Zinchenko, they would then jump out to press, creating 3-against-2 situation on that right-hand side of the pitch. This initially only really worked though for about 10 minutes, when Manchester City then realised how to start breaking passes through the lines. When Tottenham did get hold of the ball though, the City team obviously pressed hard and the home team were forced to play backwards, often all the way back to their goalkeeper Lloris. But when they beat the first pressing line, they could start their attack. It went quite quickly, and the direction, of course, was vertical. Here we have a typical Mourinho tactical move with Dele Alli has drifted from the central areas out onto the left-hand side. Only Walker's paying attention when the ball is transported into Winks towards the centre circle. At this same time, Moura and Son then start vertical runs, threatening to get in behind the City back line, forcing Zinchenko and Fernandinho to drop off early. Instead of continuing the run, Moura stops and turns back, ready to receive the ball in an open area with both his run and Son's run. Dele Alli now moving forward in behind that space, in behind Kyle Walker onto his blind side. Instead of passing to Moura, Winks chooses to pass to Alderweireld, and when the ball is reaching him, Ali has already passed Walker and is heading on towards the blind side of City's slow-paced centre-back Nicolas Otamendi. Tottenham now testing the communication in that back line from the City back four. Walker has to inform Otamendi about the upcoming threat from the inner corridor behind his back. Here we can see that Dele Alli's drifted from that central area, is now located out onto the left wing. We can also see Walker there in your picture. He's the only one paying attention since the ball is transported towards the centre circle. Moura and Son are making their vertical runs ready for the long ball, forcing Zinchenko and Fernandinho to drop off early. Moura using Son's run as a dummy. That lured two defenders with him. We can see here that the opening space is created and he's ready to move in to receive, with Ali closing in on Walker's back. When the ball is arriving at Alderweireld, Ali's already passed Walker and is heading towards the blind side of centre-back Otamendi. Tottenham, as we already mentioned, testing that communication with the Man City defence, and we can even see there that Otamendi's body positioning, he has absolutely no idea that Ali's coming up on his blind side. That run from Ali, brilliant in behind Otamendi, just slightly too early when that ball from Alderweireld is played long over the top. It would have been through on goal because Otamendi would never have caught him. Tottenham tried the long ball to their quick forwards a couple of times in the first half, and if they didn't end up with goal chances, they're not wasted. They're always putting some fear into the opposition back line, which can usually aid them in the game. For instance, force the opposition line back, dropping early, expecting that long ball, and then creating space inside, in front of them, which they can then capitalise on. So not wasted runs, even though they weren't capitalised on. After about 10 minutes, City started to figure out how to beat Spurs' trap. To reach penetration, Kun Aguero started to drop down to the middle to receive an extra player to interact with in the build-up phase. The problem was that Tottenham were just so compact, especially on their right wing. You can see here that Ali's dropped down to tighten things up in that inner corridor. On numerous occasions they reached 5 against 3 or even 4 against 2s, and City had to do something about that. Started with Fernandinho that took the ball forward into open space, trying to lure out Ali as he had to go up and press. At the same time, Fernandinho moving forward with the ball, Gundogan runs down to make himself available, luring Son out of that area as well. And when Gundogan finds a way through Ali and Son, Aguero can then link up with the player Zinchenko, who of course is advanced in that outer corridor on that left wing. And of course, with Kun Aguero supporting there, we've got a 2 against 1 situation in that outer channel. Here we can see that situation where Walker's switch of play from the right to the left, passing the ball into Fernandinho, and then Fernandinho bringing the ball forward and creating that 5 against 3 situation with that compact defence from Tottenham where Ali's dropped in to screen any passes coming into Aguero. Of course, when Fernandinho advances, someone has to come out to him, so it's Ali. And when Gundogan makes his move, he drags Son with him. And then Gundogan finds that ball through the lines into Aguero when they can then create 2 against 1 situations in that outer corridor. Now a quick look at the decisive actions from the game. In the first half, Davinson Sanchez makes a clumsy challenge on Aguero inside the Spurs penalty area. Argentinian goes down. Referee Mike Dean didn't actually give the penalty, however VAR did. But Lloris saved brilliantly down to his left-hand side in the 40th minute. Gundogan did his first penalty miss in 9. City did have a few clear chances during the game. Champions weren't at their best all evening regarding putting the ball into the back of the net. If the City players didn't miss the target, slight touch off a Spurs player here would have just made the ball go past Lloris. Unlucky not to go in, it'd break 1-0 up. And then in the 60th minute, Zinchenko, second bookable offence. Ukrainian fouled Winks close to the halfway line, and the Tottenham counter-attack. Now Spurs had an extra man on the pitch, and it was only a few minutes later that they then made that numerical advantage count. Steven Bergwijn, making his Premier League debut, arrived from PSV Eindhoven, received the ball on the edge of the 18-yard box, chested it, and then fired the ball in between the two centre-backs from Manchester City into the back of the net, and the 22-year-old from Amsterdam couldn't believe his eyes. And the 71st minute, Tottenham had the 2-0 lead, with the ball being steered into the back of the net from Son. This game was meant to be a tactical battle between two gigantic managers in the European game, but it didn't go the way everyone expected. Mourinho tried his defensive approach, and Man City probed and found their way in between the Spurs defence. It wasn't until the sending off from Zinchenko that everyone expected a big victory for the Spaniard, managing the Manchester City team rather than his compatriot in the other dugout. There was one thing that Man City missed though, and that was the sharpness required. With so many chances, clear-cut chances I might add, to put the game to bed early. But this was football, anything can happen. A fine penalty save and two gorgeous goals saw this game end in a home win for Spurs. Could almost call this a smash and grab win, or even a great escape